2A regional, it's going to be a trip for the Bishop Luers Knights. They're going to have to travel to Cass. Cass, always a good team, comes in at 9-3. Bishop Luers, after finishing the regular season 4-5, now 7-5, although they haven't really played any close games, haven't at all played any close games in the sectional. Does that hurt Luers at this point? Because they haven't played anybody who's Winchester came in 9-2, but we saw very early that they were not up to snuff.
Right. Once you get into the 2A tournament with Luers, you can throw the records out, disregard the 7-5, and to a degree disregard what the other team is. But that isn't the case in Lewis Cass. Lewis Cass is a way notch higher than Winchester is. Lewis Cass is a legitimate program. They're good every single year. In fact, it carries over to their other athletic programs. They're good in a lot of different things. So Lewis Cass, who advanced to the state championship last year, lost to Heritage Christian 17-14, is not going to come in and be scared of Bishop Luers and the whole aura of facing a parochial school. Lewis Cass will be ready for them. It's going to be a very difficult task for Bishop Luers to leave Walton with a win. And very difficult.
You know, they've done it before. At 2007, when they went on to win state, it was 14-0. Obviously, a different set of players for the most part, in Bishop Luers' case for sure. Did they come away with that with a little more confidence? I know Kenny Mullen, those junior class guys would have been freshmen at that point, so perhaps not seeing a lot of the field. But do they have a little more confidence knowing that, hey, you know, this program has gone in to a tough place to play and come out victorious before?
Well, certainly the Luers kids have confidence because they play in the Summit Athletic Conference and they play 3A, 4A, and 5A teams. So there's not going to be anything Lewis Cass does that shocks them or wows them, but Lewis Cass isn't going to be intimidated from the kickoff like some of these other teams are. You know, all week long, Winchester had to listen about how great Luers is. And then they saw, well, they watched tape of them destroying Manchester, who was also a so-called really good team. And so those kids get a little bit intimidated. Lewis Cass is not going to be intimidated at all. And so it's going to be very, very difficult to beat Lewis Cass at Lewis Cass. And I really don't think it'll get done. I think it'll be a very close game, but I look for Lewis Cass to win this game.
Have you seen the maturation of some of the younger players for Bishop Luers? I think James Kanapke, we've seen him progress as a sophomore quarterback throughout the season, and to the point where he's playing his best football at the most important point of the year.
Absolutely. 4 TDs and 163 yards last week. I would say that's pretty good. So, yeah, he's maturing. A lot of the young players of Luers are. And Coach Lindsay knew this was not going to be a year where they just dominated from the get-go. He knew this was going to be a maturation process, and he wanted to be playing his best ball at the sectional, and they did that. And you're seeing the end result now. But yes, James Kanapke has been marvelous the last few weeks. Granted, the competition hasn't been as tough as it's going to be on Friday night, but give him credit for developing and continuing to work hard. And then Kenny Mullen, you just rely on Kenny Mullen to do everything. I mean, he can run the ball, catch the ball, he can return punts and kicks, the whole bit. And then the Maddox kid, Quayon, I think. Quayon Maddox had a fumble recovery.
We'll just call him Q.
Q, I like that. Q Maddox. He had a fumble recovery and interception last week to key that defense as they just annihilated Winchester.
Yeah, you're talking about teams playing some good football at this point of the year. Southern Wells doing it again. Once they, like Luers, once they get into the class out of a conference where they're playing a bunch of big teams, it really seems to help them in the playoffs. And Southern Wells at 10-2, they'll be making the trip down to Knightstown, about 30 minutes outside of Indianapolis. Knightstown comes in 9-3. Knightstown's been in the state finals as recently as 2005, so they're not afraid to be playing in these big games. What does Southern Wells have to do to beat Knightstown at their place?
Well, they need to stop turning the ball over. They fumbled the ball 3 times this past week and lost 2 of them, and they had 5 penalties. So if Southern Wells fumbles the ball 3 times against Knightstown and has 5 penalties, they're going to be in a world of trouble. So they need to correct that problem. But you're right, they did run over Southwood. Southwood wasn't that strong of an opponent, and so Southern Wells was the stronger team, and they dominated, even though they were trailing 3-2 at halftime in kind of an odd score. Mm-hmm. But that was really due to their fumbles. They would advance the ball close and get in the red zone, and then they'd fumble the ball and give it right back to Southwood. Can't do that against Knightstown. Knightstown has not played nearly the tough schedule that Southern Wells has, being as they face 3A schools. But Southern Wells has to minimize turnovers. If they don't, they're going to be in trouble.
I think when you look at what Southern Wells is able to do on the ground year in and year out, it seems to be successful the way they run that. I guess it's a triple option offense, really. But as far as Tyler Roush goes, he's probably one of those guys that maybe we haven't talked about week in and week out, but he just seems to be getting things done for the Raiders this
Very
year.
solid, had 133 yards and a touchdown last week. And really, as they fell behind, they relied on him to bring them back, and that's what they did. They got back ahead, and then they just continued to run the ball and work the clock down. And so, yeah, Tyler Rausch was instrumental in their success last week, and he's there every single week. He's not going to blow up for huge yards like Clay Fichter or Roderick Smith or something like that, but he's just a solid 133 every week and a score or two and that sort of thing. And Southern Wells, I mean, they rushed for 280 yards on Southwood, so that's what they rely on, and that's what they'll try to do this week as well. And I think that they will work on their ball security issues this week in practice, and I look for them to win at Knightstown. I'm just saying if they turn it over 3 times like they did this past week, it's not going to happen.
That was my next question, because last year in semi-state, a lot of these guys were on the team. They go down to Sheridan, who had a great run.
Sheridan, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But they lose at Sheridan in semi-state last year. Is there any trepidation going to play this deep in the playoffs, going to play a team down in Indy, maybe a mental block or anything?
No, I actually think Southern Wells kids will use it as motivation to advance further than they did last year, and they're not facing a Sheridan in Knightstown. Knightstown is a nice 9-3 team, but they've only played 2 schools that are 2A, only 2 2A programs, no 3A programs, and they don't even dream of 4A or 5A, and so they haven't played the competition Southern Wells has. So the kids at Southern Wells are going to be confident going into this game, and they should be, because they're a better team than Knightstown, and if they play their A game, they play well and don't turn the ball over, they'll be fine.
All right, so you've got Dwenger and Southern Wells both advancing into semi-state play.
I hope they all advance, but I'm a realist.
Okay, so 2 out of 4, that's not bad. Of course, he's Tom Davis from the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini, and we'll join you next week again here on Wayne.com with another edition of Inside the Zone.